we're starting with you after I say my name, right? So
say your name.
I'll say I'm Pete, and then boom.
What's my name?
Spell it out for you.
What?
Oh, that's the wrong movie.
Oh.
I'll spell it out for you.
Oh, I'm gonna fucking spell it out for you.
That's pretty good.
It's great because it pulls right behind the camera. That's what I do, bro.
Hey guys, welcome back to Close Gamers. I'm Pete.
I am Andrew.
I'm John.
I'm Mike.
Alright, we did it. Alright, and we are back to actually review Star Wars Episode VIII The Last Jedi. Gentlemen, the day is finally here. We have seen the movie. You've seen it twice now.
Yeah.
And we can now review this movie. It's amazing. I can't believe we're finally here. It's been like a year or so since the title's been released, and now we are here. If you've not seen one of these reviews before, basically what we do is a general impressions. There's no spoilers. It's like a couple minutes or so. And then we'll go into likes, dislikes, and we'll give a rating at the end. So with that out of the way, general impressions for me for this movie are, I really like this movie overall. I definitely have some issues with Star Wars The Last Jedi, but overall I think it's a really solid entry to the franchise. I think it excites me for Episode 9. There's definitely a lot of things, even though we answer a lot of questions in this, I definitely think there's a lot of storylines going forward, and I don't hate some of the new characters they introduced, so it's kind of my general impression. Andrew, you want to go?
I thought it was a great chapter in this new trilogy, and all the characters actually were pretty good, except for there's only one scene they could have cut out, and it could have been a little bit better.
It's true.
But for the most part, they did like really good. They really evolved some of the characters that they brought in, and they it felt like it went by so fast. By the time it was over, I was like 2 hours, 30 minutes.
2.5 hours, the longest Star Wars movie ever.
It is, and I think it's a little bit better than The Force Awakens. I enjoyed it a little bit more, and what they really did, they is ballsy. They did some stuff you would not expect going in, and a lot of people are going to be pissed off about that, but I think that it was good to do that, because they've done what no Star Wars has done before.
Yeah. You can't fault them for that. I mean, they take chances, whether you like them or not like them in this movie, they take chances.
So definitely a solid entry, as you said, and I cannot wait for Episode 9, which is 2 years away, let's get going.
Alright, John, what's your general impression?
I liked the movie as a whole. I thought they actually brought a lot of stuff together with the film itself. And seeing more about what actually happened inside this film actually threw theories out of the water. Because we all had our suspicions. We were like, this is going to happen. I mean, I can say this, right? So we all said that basically.
Remember, though.
Yeah, I know. So I'll probably say this, when we enter it.
Yeah.
But we had our own ideas. We suspected a lot of different stuff to happen, and I was expecting all these things to happen, and they got shot out of the water.
Yeah.
And I mean, this kind of like left the road from like A Force Awakens to this, and none of us have seen this coming.
Yeah. It was basically fuck your theories.
Yeah. So, and I enjoyed it inside this movie because we had a lot more, and I was talking to them about this earlier before you showed up, a lot more character development. I felt like inside The Force Awakens, Rey had no development, and Finn had more development. And they focused a little bit more on them, even the newer characters that we see, their development, and of course my favorite, Kylo Ren.
Yeah, a lot of Kylo in this movie, definitely.
Best development out of any characters.
All right.
And I think they played everything very well. I think the movie was really good. It takes place in my top 3 Star Wars films.
All right, damn, that's high praise. Mike, so general impressions.
Yeah, so this movie blew my mind. I literally went into this movie blind. Like, the last time you probably seen me on his channel was when we saw the trailer, and that was the last thing I seen. And then I went into the movie, and I was just like, I'm gonna go into this and just pretend like I don't know anything. And I was just like, oh my god, they did this. Oh my god, they did this. I was like, what's going on here? This is great. I actually liked it.
Yeah, I don't watch any of those TV spots.
Yeah, no, I didn't see a single TV spot, didn't see anything. Everyone else seen all the stuff, and I'm like, nope.
I was made to watch it, to be honest.
Yeah, well, you couldn't help it, but I seriously just didn't see anything, and I went into it, and I loved it. I honestly loved it. There were a couple flaws here and there, but, it was just a solid movie. It was very solid.
That's also something I forgot to mention. There were some scenes that were kind of out of place, and it's like
it is not a perfect.
No, we will definitely talk about
this. But it's just some of them were just not fitting, and I have to say exactly what he said. It's just everything was surprising.
Definitely, the surprise is probably the thing that surrounds this movie the most. All right, so that is our general impressions there, guys. If you've not seen Star Wars The Last Jedi and you care about spoilers or you don't, whatever. probably go watch the movie. This is a movie to not like just watch a spoiler review and then go see it. You need to see this movie because there's so many twists and turns. So go see the movie, shut this down, put us in your watch for later, and then come back. All right, so we're going into full spoilers now, so you do not blame us. 3, 2, 1. Going into likes here. I have a lot of likes for this movie here. Number one, I think, is Kylo's progression. It just was great. I love the way they handled it. He has only about like 10 minutes or so of screen time in Force Awakens, and I felt like there was a lot more that he needed. And he has about, if you go back, he has about only about 10 minutes or so. You would think it's longer. Yeah, but it's not.
He does appear like he should be.
Yeah.
But I mean, they spaced him out through the movie, so he probably appears like he's in it a lot more.
It's about 10 or 12 minutes or so, because I think someone put a whole compilation of it on YouTube. But he's front and center. He's one of the major characters. He's the one controlling, kind of everything that happens, as we see at the end of this film. And I thought Adam Driver killed it. His performance was amazing. It's crazy to think that he did not start off as an actor, that he was a Marine. And, to give a performance like that and to have so much emotion and be so unpredictable, I thought was absolutely fantastic. And it was something refreshing to see, I think, in this movie.
Yeah. And then, I think, honestly, my favorite part also about Kylo is his progression and showing him that he's not... Because in the beginning, when they showed Snoke and Snoke confronting him, he's like, take off that childish mask, you Darth Vader wannabe.
Yeah.
And then when he takes it off, that moment, you notice something's gonna go down. He actually stops in that shadow of Darth Vader and goes into his own path.
Exactly.
Because in Force Awakens, he was in 100% of his
he was
shadow.
A wannabe. That's what he was.
He was a Darth Vader person.
And now he's his own character. He's shown you he's not like a crybaby. He's shown you he's strong. They're showing you so much of his character and how much different his character is becoming in this film.
I absolutely agree there, and especially that Vader was he had his moments, but he was so just stoic in his presence. He's just kind of that terrifying kind of more machine than man kind of thing. But Kylo's unpredictable. I mean, he could do anything at any second, and you never know what he's going to do. So I love that kind of aspect to his character, and it makes him so different that it's not like the original trilogy, that he is not like Vader. And him, even though I love the mask, him smashing that right at the beginning was kind of just fitting that, all right, he needs to move on from this. But now he's also lost as a character, and we see that later on in the film with his connection with Rey, because I don't think he was really joking. He didn't know where he was lost. He didn't know where he was. So he had no problem talking to her. It wasn't more trying to trick her to get him, get her on Snoke's ship. It was, he was trying this out and seeing where it went.
And that was the whole thing, because I felt there was actually a connection between them, not just also
literally.
not just Snoke setting them up.
Mm-hmm.
So, but them talking back and forth between all the scenes that we'll get more into, but them talking back and forth, you've seen the connection more than just the Force.
Oh.
And they were talking, and you've seen all the stories unfolding slowly through time.
Yeah, that was great. Andrew, you have any likes for this film?
Luke Skywalker. Wow.
Yes.
The moment, for example, just the moment when you see Princess Leia's hologram, when you get a flashback to that, right in the feels,
R2-D2,
man.
that hit. He even said that was a low blow.
That was a great scene. His development is amazing. What he did, especially in the end, it's such a beautiful movie too, by the way. I just want to say that. So beautiful. All the visuals.
Cinematography, great.
Oh my God, the shots.
So good.
Especially with him and the two moons.
Yeah.
You can't get more nostalgic than that.
Oh, that was awesome. What a shot that was.
I
where
know.
He's fading off there, obviously, at the end, and we'll talk more about that scene. But to have him look out on the horizon that Yoda always says that he looks at, and to have that kind of Tatooine kind of feel to it of the two suns thing, and he's looking out, and that's how he fades away into the Force.
Speaking of Yoda, oh my God, we got to see Yoda. When I saw it, I wanted to cry. It's
and they went back. They went back to puppet Yoda.
Yes,
man, that was cool too.
You don't beat that.
Yeah,
you don't beat that.
I really like that.
And just they went from, in the beginning, he was just kind of he didn't want to do nothing with the Force. He disconnected himself from the Force. He was
Literally.
nope. Yeah. And then you get to see what happened with Kylo Ren. You got to see the flashback, what happened. You get to see all the sides of the story too.
Yeah, several different versions.
Yeah,
of that story.
I thought that was cool. It's just they did a great job with him. I think definitely one of the highlights, and the way that he goes out, just like Obi-Wan did it in A New Hope, so good.
I have a question actually.
Sure.
How does you just said it.
Was Obi-Wan with him fading?
No. You said it before that. You said something about Luke.
I forgot.
We'll get back to it.
All right.
Mike, do you have any other likes?
Princess Leia.
Yes.
Leia Organa. She.
Carrie Fisher's final.
You're gonna make me cry on her during the review, bro.
Every time she came on the screen, I started getting so emotional because she
gives that look like
because Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
If you've been living under a rock, she's been dead IRL for like a year now, and
oh my God, that's terrible.
and so every time I see her like on screen, when I was watching the trailer, when we first watched that trailer, I started getting teary eyed because seeing her in that thing, and she kicked this movie's ass so hard. She did so well in this movie.
Like that scene when she's holding what's her name's hand, and she's like, what'd she say? It's not goodbye.
Oh yeah,
something like that.
Admiral Hoda.
When I saw that, I was like, no. I was like,
because
please.
it's literally goodbye.
Was it not?
There was lines in this movie where they specifically made it as kind of a send off to her.
Yeah, and the end credits,
Yeah.
like they give her, rest in peace, our princess. I was like,
that was great.
No,
I thought that
was
awesome.
amazing. Oh man,
there's so many great things to talk about in this movie. I also do kind of want to talk about Poe in this movie.
Well, I think first you should talk about Snoke because I want to get some.
We'll hold on Snoke because there's some things about going there. But I'm going to go to Poe first here because I think he had the best character progression in this movie, even better than Kylo. It was great to see him through the start to the end of the movie change the way he thought about how to fight, how to lead. And clearly, I think we're setting up kind of a transition. People have mentioned this, where we're switching kind of the original people are now switching over into them in the literal way. So Leia is kind of handing it off to Poe, and you have Luke handing it off to Rey, and then Han was kind of handing it off to Finn. So we kind of have this whole progression here, and I think it was completed, unfortunately, in some ways in this movie because Carrie Fisher is gone. She was supposed to have a big part in Episode 9. Now we lay the groundwork for Poe to kind of be that leader of the Resistance, of the rebels there. Which was great.
They really tore the Resistance apart. Like, at least in the original
that was the most desperate we've ever seen.
Like, in the original trilogy, like, you always felt like there was more rebellion, there was more of a people. But in this one, there's like 15 guys left. And
they're all on the Millennium Falcon. Everybody's on the Millennium Falcon.
Akbar, gone.
Yeah.
It's just like,
we'll talk about that later.
They just straight up got rid of him.
That was
they
crazy.
destroyed.
A lot of 15 people died in this movie.
They're gonna have to get a whole new army because they have like nothing.
Well, but that's okay though. See, that's showing you that the Resistance is gonna have to do a lot more.
They're on the ropes. They're definitely on the ropes, and Poe is going to lead that, and him to be a hothead, be that flyboy at the beginning of the movie, and not know the overall plan, seeing the big picture. He wasn't concerned about that. He wasn't seeing that. Actually, his efforts with Rose and Finn actually end up almost screwing everyone and getting everyone killed because their whole mission fails because they weren't, what they did actually ended up letting the First Order discover that, oh yeah, these transport ships are going off to Crate, we should probably kill them. So he almost actually got everyone killed, and him to then hold back in that final battle and go, hey, we gotta pull out, it's not the time, we can't go for this, kind of canon thing. That was great, and I like to see when characters, they progress and they earn that progression, where I feel like, all right, I've been with you on this journey, and I get it now.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because Poe didn't have too much, Poe didn't really have actually anything, really, in The Force Awakens, because halfway through, you think he's dead, and then he comes back.
Yeah.
So, having this real progression is very good, and everything with, Finn in this movie is also really good. I want to say that, because he had a lot of progression in The Force Awakens, and then just having him being able to fight against the First Order, literally in their face on the ship, is amazing, and against Phasma, because fuck Phasma.
A lot of great fight scenes in this movie.
That was such a good fight, but it was nice to see Finn get his moment to go against his commander.
Yeah.
And actually, even though he lost the fight, but he won that war. Because he lost, and he got up, and he was like, hey, Phasma.
Yeah, she wasn't paying attention.
Cracked her in the face.
Chrome Dome.
The Chrome Dome was good. I like all those comments there. And yes, and then as you said, Luke was... it was nice to see him talk in this movie. Because, obviously what happens at the end of 7, but him to go... That shot when he walks into the Falcon, and he's just kind of in the cockpit, that was just kind of sad. Because it was just like...
Wow.
damn, he'll never get to have that moment with Harrison Ford's Han Solo ever again.
Yeah, like in the beginning, he was
so
just
that
like,
was that was sad. But I love the way that they addressed that, because I was so afraid that they were just going to straight up skip over that.
Yeah.
I like that he has this period of mourning where his first question is, "Wait, you have the Falcon here? Where's Han?" Like, so that was great there, and him to kind of we see him so low at this point, and to him to go through the death of Han, and then he's cut off, from using his powers, and to then be brought back, and he can then sense when his sister is hurt, and then to have that whole Luke Leia scene. Yeah. All that stuff was great.
Okay, you just reminded me. Thank you for saying it. Okay, so this is my big question. How does one cut themselves off from the Force?
They just don't use it.
Yeah, I guess he just.
But that's not cutting yourself off, because you can still sense people through the Force.
I'm gonna guess
she couldn't sense him at all.
He could just
like, but that's the whole thing. Like, hear me out. So, because, I mean, so many people, if you go for a long period of time without using the Force, you don't lose it. I mean, like Ben Kenobi.
It's true.
And Darth Maul. If you guys watch Rebels, he was able to sense him through the Force and found him on Tatooine through Ezra. Mm-hmm. And that's a giant, plot hole right there. How does one cut themselves off from the Force?
It is a legitimate question.
And then, I mean, if you think about it, he says he cuts himself off from the Force. When someone cuts themselves off, they can't use it.
No.
So unless it's not a switch. You can't turn it off and turn it back on.
Well, the only way I can see where he can turn it off and be able to turn it back on is because the whole island that he's on is a Force conduit. It's literally the place of high light and high dark.
Yeah, but that's not the whole thing though. Because I mean, when you think about it, the only way they found out was ripping through Rey's head.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can sense the Force, they should have been able to find him. But I like how they brought that in. I turned myself off from the Force, and that's why they couldn't sense him or find him. And I thought that was really interesting to see.
I don't think necessarily he turned himself off from the Force. Obviously, we see him use the Force in this movie several times.
Yeah.
But I think it was more of a mental thing that he kind of in a way maybe tricked himself into using, at least in my opinion, a little bit of the Force to cut himself off from the rest of the Force. Of he just stopped practicing it, he stopped believing in it, and he lost all faith in it. I mean, after all, as they say in this movie, it is a religion, and if you don't have any faith based in what you're actually practicing, you are hence cutting yourself off from it. So it's not that he didn't sense things on the island. He's aware of them. He knew when Rey sensed that, overall darkness that was under the ocean. He knows that's there because he can feel that. But it's more that he wants nothing to do with what's happening.
That's a whole nother thing too. I don't think he sensed that she felt it. I think he's seen that she felt it because she didn't feel him. That's another thing.
So she was also telling him exactly everything.
Exactly. So, but I'm not trying to hop into Disney or anything. But I'm just asking.
It's definitely a question. I mean, there's a lot of things that are brought up in this movie, and we'll talk about that Carrie Fisher, Leia floating in space scene later. But there's there's definitely a lot of things in this movie that we haven't seen before, haven't addressed before, and to me, it was more him. The way I took it is him literally masking himself from the Force of
That's still, but you would still be able to sense the Force. If someone's masking themselves with the Force, you would be able to still sense the Force. Not necessarily. If
he's so powerful enough that he can do all the things he did at the end of the movie, he can be powerful enough to block Rey from sensing himself.
Yeah, but that's okay. No, but that's another thing. I mean, blocking from a person literally 3 feet in front of you, you can't mask yourself that much.
The Force has never had anything to do with the literal distance that someone's in front of you or how close you are. I mean, we've seen Palpatine communicate with people literally across the galaxy before.
I mean, they also...
Snoke does it here.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's another...
Snoke literally drags Hux,
galaxies away against the floor of his ship.
He embarrassed the shit out of him there.
I thought that was great, though. I thought that was an awesome scene. And I think, okay, let's hop into...
No, but your question definitely is legitimate. I mean, let us know down below what you thought of whole Luke cutting himself off from the Force there. How do you think that works? Is he actually cutting himself off? Because, I mean, that's uncharted territory that we definitely have.
No, that's just a strong... Yeah. Okay, but another strong scene I like. Can we go into Snoke?
Yes,
one scene?
We can go into Snoke.
Okay, so... there's not a lot of Snoke scenes in this movie,
just
but I thought there was I know there's two, but the one Snoke scene that we see is basically him and Barry seeing Kylo, and that's when Kylo changed his whole path.
Yeah.
And then the second Snoke scene we see is the moment he's basically beating the hell out of Rey.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool because she's like, "Hey, I can outsmart you. Pull the lightsaber." And he's like, "No, you cracked her in the head with it."
He toyed with it. He trolled her. That's what he did.
And it kept going back and forth until, he's like, "Kylo, strike her down." And he goes to, "This will finish your training."
Yeah.
And that's when we got that final moment. Oh my God, he's gonna finish his training. Holy shit! No. He's masking his. This is my favorite part of the movie. He's masking his true intentions with evil thoughts. He's gonna kill her. Yeah. He has to do this. He has to finish everything, with the point that he's gonna kill Snoke. Yeah. And turns on the lightsaber and then pulls it towards. I was like, holy shit!
And that was kind of the moment of I like that scene in that way because he was seeing a picture of what was happening. He was sensing feelings. He just wasn't sensing that those feelings were about him. So he was thinking the whole time, all right, I see into Kylo, no one can betray me, he can't trick me. He's thinking all these things about Rey, but he wasn't. He was thinking those things about Snoke.
And I thought that was cool.
That's a brilliant thing because the Force is never a straight up clear picture. Yeah. So that made sense that he wouldn't be able to know exactly who did it. And then for Kylo to be that strong in the Force, to keep going, sensing those feelings, but then off to the side with his other hand moving that lightsaber and masking that from Snoke. That I thought was brilliant.
That was a jaw dropper. That was good.
Yeah, that was crazy. Dude, that was a moment I heard. He said you could hear him say "Holy shit" when that happened.
I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "What just happened?" My jaw touched the ground. I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I was like, usually it would last like to the last movie.
No. That's what they said. They said, fuck your theories in this movie. Fuck your Snoke theories.
That's what we're talking about.
We don't care about that. We're going to go something bold. We're going to make, Kylo the main villain going forward. And that was that. And that was crazy.
That was the whole thing. We all thought, oh my God, they're going to team up a little bit. Yeah. Then they're going to switch sides or something.
Yeah. No, we played a little bit with that.
Yeah, I know. But they all have like different intentions. Like we see Rey falling a little to the dark. We see Kylo falling a little to the light. Yeah. It's kind of cool. And Mike proved a point to me earlier to where the Force and the only reason why his Rey is as strong as she is light and dark meet in the middle.
Yeah, and she's kind of being that gray Jedi, as they keep saying, kind of the balance.
The thing is that the whole reason why the previous movie was called The Force Awakens is because her Force abilities had been awakened in the light to meet Kylo's dark that he gains in the movie.
And that's why she was able to beat him.
And Snoke even points that out. When darkness rises, there's always light to meet it. So he says that in this movie.
Another thing, now everyone has been ripping on the whole thing that Snoke's dead. But what I like about the Snoke death is that it mirrors a Sith apprentice becoming a master, and becoming the one because of the rule of two. When Palpatine, when he killed Darth Plagueis, he killed him to become the master and to now be the one to have the rule of two. So that's pretty much what Kylo did that to Snoke. So now he becomes supreme leader, and now he gets to take over.
Yeah,
but and do everything on his own.
When we think about this, dude, I don't think this war could have been won without Snoke. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think the war needed Snoke for the First Order to actually win. Now that's a point I wanted to prove out. But Kylo doing what he does, it just shows you that he's. And this is what I pointed out before, that he's different from Darth Vader. Because Darth Vader was scared.
Yeah.
Darth Vader was scared.
And the only thing that brings him back to actually attack the Emperor is his son. Yeah. For Kylo, it's not that. It wasn't Rey being threatened. It was more that he is sick of this guy ripping on him and thinking that he's nobody. And that was it, where he kind of snapped and was like, I don't need you anymore. I can be my own person. Yeah. And I like that. That gives a different taste because everyone complaining that, and rightfully so, that The Force Awakens was very similar to Episode 4. Now we throw all that shit out the window.
Yeah, but that's another thing I wanted to point out too, because everyone was like, it's just a copy, but Kylo Ren was obsessed with Darth Vader, and that's why it was literally a direct copy, because he's like, I can do everything better, I can do this better, I can make everything better, and that's why it was like, oh, it's just a new hope, and yes and no, but Kylo was trying to be Darth Vader. Yeah. And that was his whole thing. I need to be better than Vader. I need to do this.
And that's why that first scene with Snoke is so important, because Snoke gets to make fun of him, gets to rightfully call him out. How does someone who's never picked up a lightsaber actually beat you? Yeah. Totally fair.
And I thought that was cool, because now we got to see that.
Yeah, and then him destroying the mask is just symbolism in the movie that, all right, I am not Vader wannabe anymore. I am my own person, and that allows him to find himself later with figuring out who he is with Rey and their connection, and then making that final decision later in the scene in the throne room of, now I am the leader. And you do make an interesting point where, yeah, the First Order probably does need Snoke to win, because now we have a problem in the leadership, as we see in this movie, with him and General Hux. Clearly they hate each other. Clearly General Hux was about to double tap him when he was on the floor knocked out there. So they're not going to get along. I can see that being a massive conflict where one of them, probably Hux, tries to betray Kylo next movie and is going to lead for the Resistance, probably to end up winning this.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, if Hux goes against him, I hope Kylo's like, you know what, and this is my personal opinion about the next movie, I hope Hux goes against him and Kylo's just like, I'm done with your shit, and just kills him.
Just, he's choked him before, so...
just grab him by his throat, bro, with the Force, and just rip it out. That's it. Just go away.
Definitely.
That's it. Fucking, if Phasma's still alive, just be like, hey, you're in charge of everything. Bye. That's it. And that's another thing. My favorite, besides that scene, my next two favorite scenes that are coming up are Finn and Phasma got their showdown.
She actually got to do something.
I thought that was awesome. And then the scene after that was Lightspeed.
Yeah, the Lightspeed scene was ridiculous. I mean, talk about something that we've never seen before. For the Admiral then to kind of face the First Order fleet and have the music fade out where it's just silence, and her just a light speed through all of the First Order was crazy. We've seen something on a smaller scale on Rebels where they've done it like light speed through a hangar, but never through an entire fleet to that degree. Yeah, that was something we've never seen before. That was awesome.
That blew my mind, and that's when you heard me.
Yeah.
Because as soon as it happened to split the ship in half, she's like that. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Just, it was quiet in the theater.
Yeah.
And all you heard was...
It was just a perfectly edited, and just to not have any sound there was the perfect decision.
Rippled like all the Star Destroyers.
Oh, that was great. And Hux realizing it in that moment that there's a problem, and like...
Yeah.
That was all great. What did we think of General Hux in this movie? Do we have any thoughts?
He's a mighty little brat!
I honestly like the character of General Hux. I just like I know... And originally in The Force Awakens, they made like the First Order kind of like a total Nazi type deal.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what it is.
And that's literally every time he comes on the screen, I just feel like he's just like part of the SS in this.
I mean that speech he has in Force Awakens. I mean clearly SS like.
Yeah. Crazy.
He's not that bad though.
No, he's an interesting character. I just feel at the end that he's basically a bitch to be slapped around by whoever's a Force user.
Yeah, pretty much.
Literally.
But when he's talking to like at least someone who's not a Force user, he means business.
He commands the scene.
Yeah, and he takes it. He'll take anything and just shove it.
But again, the one thing is clearly he has likings to Tarkin. He doesn't have the presence of Tarkin. Yeah. Like he doesn't have the respect. Tarkin had Vader's respect. Okay. Yeah. Clearly, he does not have Kylo's respect there, and the way that he's risen through the ranks, you can tell he was kind of maybe a rat to get up to the top of the field there and being a general for the First Order. That for me takes away a little bit of his character. Where all right, you don't want it to be a carbon copy of the originals, but you hope that the man has maybe a little more development in Episode 9, because right now he's nobody. He's there to be smacked around and yelled at.
Yeah, they might do something.
Well, that's what I've seen something like that. Someone described that literally he's in comics before. Literally, he's how they quote unquote said a Nazi leader and a slapstick.
Yeah.
And I agree with that, but if that's all he's going to be, then he's going to be no more than
he's going to be one note, and we don't want that.
No.
Yeah, we want to see more.
Yeah. I mean, I would enjoy to see him more as a different character, but as of right now, I mean, if they're only using him for this, I have no interest in really seeing more of him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of funny. I thought a funny scene is when he was trying to scream over Kylo Ren, and Kylo just used the Force and threw him into the wall.
Yeah.
He was like, no. He was like, just shut up. He's like, I'm done with you.
Long live the Supreme Leader, but then actually Kylo is now the new Supreme Leader.
Yeah.
So. And them yelling over each other, too, later on. Oh, you think you got him? With the whole...
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
Yeah, those were good things. What did we think of that final sequence with Luke, where... He shows up, at first maybe you think he's legitimately there. He has his whole moment with his sister. He winks his C-3PO, and then he goes out and he jokes in the, he was not joking, but in the beginning of the movie he said, "Ray, what do you want me to do? Go out and face the First Order with my laser sword just by myself?" Then he kind of does that. What did we think of that whole kind of, I guess, ended up being final Luke Skywalker sequence?
I kind of had a... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go.
I kind of had a feeling it wasn't actually him because... His beard was like, you know, not
and
as
the
long.
saber was blue, and we just saw it blow up.
I was like, we're not in mind games. They're trying to play Jedi mind trick on me at that moment. So I was like, okay.
It didn't hit me at first.
Then, well, when they were all shooting at him, and obviously he's not gonna go. He's not in the. So you could tell that nothing's going through. He has some kind of,
Well, he's been practicing 30 years. Maybe he knows how to block it.
Well,
that's a whole thing too that I wanted to point out. I mean, for all we know, dude, he could have actually just took a couple steps backwards and just used a force field.
Yeah.
But I liked how him and Kylo Ren kind of went at it, but he was just dodging everything. And
yeah, but that's the whole point. I was like, what if he's actually not there? And he was like, oh yeah, I'm not actually here. I thought, the first impression that I got, I was like, yo, he's dead.
Yeah.
I thought he was dead.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, when that first shot, I was like,
when he went through,
and then
I was like, "There's no way it's gonna be this type of movie." Like after everything that happened, I'm like, "There is no way you kill Luke like that."
Yo,
there's no way he's dead.
You know what's funny? Because I forgot the plan. The planet was like all red.
That was really cool effects.
I thought what hit me, dude, was the first shot. I thought it was just dusted blood. I was like, oh my god. I was like, they just murdered him.
Like, no, he did not go out that.
They snoked him too.
And when he walked out of the dust and saw, he was just like.
Yeah, and everyone was cheering in the theater. That was really good there. But I definitely was tipped off when he pulls out the blue lightsaber. I was like, this is weird. And then when him and Kylo actually aren't clashing, he's just dodging all the moves. I was like, nope. There's something weird here.
He was just stalling, and Poe Dameron knew that he was stalling. I was like, this guy knows, but what if he didn't know that? What would have happened if he was like, he would just been watching it?
And then, but ruined it. Another thing that gets me is, are we still going on with likes?
Yeah, we're still going with likes.
Okay, so I shouldn't say this, but another thing that gets me is when Rey knew exactly where to go. I mean, I understand she has the Force and everything, but did she know they're on the other side? And the Force can sense other people, not just other.
She also had the thing that Leia has on top of seeing all the crystal foxes coming out.
That's true.
So it would make
it was also a little bit of luck in there too, that she kind of just ended up in that area, and then you make the whole joke of Luke saying it's not just about lifting rocks, and then later on it's about her lifting rocks. So that was good. I did like Poe's funny comment too, but he was also being legitimate when he's just like, "Isn't there another way out of here? How did he get in here?" And then we know how he got in there now because he wasn't actually there. So. All those moments are good. I think his final conversation with Kylo saying that, just like your father, I will always be with you if you do this. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
Strike me down, I should be. I thought he was going to say that. I was like, oh, okay.
But a version. He does say kind of a version of that as well.
Yeah, but I thought that was really unique because he said it completely different.
Yeah.
So it was taken from A New Hope, but reworded because Luke actually heard those words.
Mm-hmm. And then we had the whole dice getting passed around, which I don't think has been previously seen in another movie.
It was actually in A New Hope, but you barely really saw it. Okay. It wasn't really said.
You know, it's gonna definitely have a place next year in the Han Solo movie.
In the Han Solo movie, yeah. But like it was seen in A New Hope, and then you just never really seen it because it's just like above everything, so you couldn't really tell.
And to have like Luke and Leia touch it, and then Kylo to have it, and then the ultimate FU to him after everything that happens, then also that fades into the Force as well.
Yeah.
That disappears from Kylo's hands. He doesn't even have that as a trophy or a remnant of his father. I thought was really good, and I thought that was well handled.
Yeah.
All right, so is there any other scenes, things you want to talk about, characters? No?
The very, very, very end with the kids.
Okay, yes, the broom kid, yeah.
I thought showing them made me have faith that might be part of the newest trilogy, and I think that's going to be interesting. I have two theories, too, that I want to say at the end.
Okay.
And I think actually another good scene I liked was, just want to throw this out there, Finn willing to throw himself away to save everybody.
Willing to die. That was again, the music for that was perfect. I really thought they were gonna kill him.
Yeah, I was like, no,
because we killed everyone else. So I was like, why not? He's gonna die.
Yeah. And then fucking Rose just came in, saved her.
We'll definitely talk about that scene. I think in my dislikes.
I thought it was interesting, but it was misplaced.
Yes, there's several times I feel that.
I thought she was a good character.
All right, so I guess right there we're rolling into dislikes. We're definitely rolling into dislikes. Let's talk about Rose. Let's just talk about Rose. To me, in episode 8, in the middle of a new trilogy, it feels weird that we're just introducing a main character that we've never mentioned before that just comes out of nowhere right here. And again, I didn't hate her. I know there's a lot of people. I've been reading a lot of stuff over the last few days of what audiences have thought of this movie. It's not doing that great on Rotten Tomatoes. It's at like 56%. Audiences are pretty split. I mean, I've seen YouTube, reviews and things like that. There's a lot of mixed reaction to this movie, and it doesn't obviously all stem from Rose, but she is one of these parts of. She's given so much development in this movie that feels weirdly placed. The editing of this movie feels weirdly placed. Of her whole, her and Finn's adventure to the casino. I don't really like any of that sequence. Not that it's not Star Wars like, but I don't feel like it fits in this movie, or at least the way that they edited it and how long it is. It doesn't work for me. I want more Kylo and Rey and Luke and Snoke scenes even over this character that we just get introduced to. You get introduced to her sister earlier in the movie that you don't even know is her sister until later when she mentions it. Clearly, when you see that woman, grab the half moon necklace, that's going to come by later, and it's that she has the other half of it.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't hate Rose, but she wasn't my favorite character, and there's a lot of annoying things that she does, including that scene where she saves Finn. Don't have a problem saving Finn, but more, it kind of felt out of, if she maybe sacrificed herself, that would have been more of a kind of fitting end to her character, more than like her, confessing her love, kissing him, and then passing out. But that whole sequence was really weird.
But that's what I gotta say about it too, because I thought it was just misplaced, because she's like, "Oh, I saved you, dummy." It's not the point about saving him, and I'm pretty sure he's appreciated for it, but he was willing to give.
He said
his
he was
life.
gonna save everyone.
Yeah,
that was what he was
and
gonna
then she was like, "I saved you," and I was like, "Yo, you're being selfish because you want to, fix your love issue."
Which is the exact opposite of what her sister does earlier in this movie, because she sacrifices herself for everybody else. And when she blows up the dreadnought there, which was awesome ship to see, by the way.
And the battle.
Yes, that all the space battles were great. But for then Rose then to be selfish later and do the exact opposite of what her sister did, I don't like that character development at all. Especially for love, that you love Finn. It just, that was not good.
I mean, they did. It's not like they spent a lot of time together too.
Yeah.
And I can understand.
It's like 2 days.
I can understand her love for Finn, because I mean, in reality, you don't get to meet your heroes.
Right, but then again, we talked about this. We're only, at most, in some scenes with Rey and Luke, we're literally picking off right where we left off. And then in some scenes, we're a few weeks later, at most, from The Force Awakens. It's the least time jump out of any of these Star Wars movies. So, how long has the legend of Finn really been around that she's so excited to meet her hero? Like, and then she ends up stunning him at the beginning too, because she thinks that he's running away. That's how, they get off on that whole comedic bit. I don't know, it just felt weird. Her character just felt oddly placed in this movie, where now she's probably going to have some big part in episode 9. Are we creating some kind of awkward love triangle square thing with Rey, Kylo, Finn, Rose? Like, there's all this weird stuff going on that I don't feel like has any place in a Star Wars movie, and I felt like a lot of her scenes and a lot of the casino scenes, which, by the way, everything that they did was for nothing and was pointless. Not like, oh, you guys failed. It wasn't like a Revenge of the Sith kind of thing. It was more that, like, this was a completely pointless mission that meant nothing, just was to set up a Finn Phasma showdown. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And just, why?
And,
what is the point of that?
And also, like, a completely useless part for Benicio del Toro. Like,
completely useless.
Like, he could have been so much better with Snoke or something like that, but they used him as this guy, and he's also like a really
the codebreaker.
Yeah, he's also like a really crappy Lando, if you really think about it, because like he's brought there to help, like how Lando was like Han went to Lando for help
in Cloud City.
And Lando took a better deal.
Right.
And which is what Benicio del Toro's character did. DJ, his character pretty much took a better deal once they got caught, and pretty much went on his own.
But it's definitely not the same. He doesn't have the same charm of him or anything. And
he's just.
I don't mean meeting him. In the jail cell or anything else, but I don't feel like there's the only interesting point he makes in this entire movie is that there really is no good and bad. Like he was saying that, like, look at all these people here. Oh, look, they made money selling weapons to the First Order. Oh, but they also sent X-Wings over there. So that was the only interesting point where I'm glad that Finn got to see something like that. But otherwise, he was a wasted character that just stutters all the time. You know, there was so many theories that, you know, his, you know, role was kept so, you know, on the wraps and everything else. Is he a secret Sith Lord? Is he actually, because we assume Snoke is not going to pick up a saber, is he the one that's trained Kylo in actually using the combat of a saber? Nope, he's just kind of a pointless throwaway codebreaker, one that they weren't even looking for in the first place. And he just betrays them, and then we don't really know what happens to him. Did he die on that ship? Did he live and escape?
They could have
cut time. Who cares?
They could have cut like 15, 20
They could have cut out the whole casino scene with Finn and Rose. It's literally a 45-minute point of pointlessness. Yes, it develops her character, but, you know, we're dealing with, you know, freeing animals there, and then, you know, those kids end up having the Force at the end, and, you know, growing up poor, blah, blah, blah. We've seen that a million freaking times. There was no point of it in this movie that is the pivotal middle movie of the franchise, when I want to go see a training montage of Rey on the island actually learning and progressing and learning more about Luke and seeing more Kylo Snoke.
They did cut a scene of that, by the way, if you didn't know.
I did not know.
Replaced it with deleted scenes.
They cut it. I think it was like they cut 20 minutes worth of the movie, but there was only one extra scene of them training. It was an actual training.
Exactly. So like all that, I feel like is way more useful in this movie than this whole Finn Rose adventure.
Was that lesson 3?
Yeah. We don't get lesson 3 either. It won't even go there. That's not more of a dislike. It's more just like, it's so annoying now. I have to wait 2 years for Luke to come back as a Force Ghost to learn the goddamn 3rd lesson.
Yeah, he'll be back. So I don't know why everybody's so pissed off.
He just said that they cut out one of the training sessions.
Yes.
Yeah. Could that have been lesson 3?
No, I doubt it. And also,
we'll have to wait till Blu-ray.
You know, even if there was only one training scene that they cut out, I felt like then they should have shot more stuff. There should have been more scenes of them on the island. That's what we waited. You ended up killing Luke anyway, so we only have him for this one movie in this new franchise.
Yeah,
make use of it. Why do I care about Rose? I mean, you know, I don't understand the point of that whatsoever. And now she's in the similar role that Finn was at the end of the last movie, where she's in some, you know, kind of medical capsule there. I guess the other huge dislike I have in this movie, you know, there's editing problems and pacing problems in this movie, specifically because of the Rose Finn storyline, but also, what the fuck with that Leia scene, man? I mean, let's just be real. I mean, what was that, Mary Poppins in space? I mean,
I don't know what that.
What the hell was that? I don't like that at all.
Or shield, and she was just. I was like,
you know, I don't have any problem with characters progressing powers-wise. For Luke, makes sense, right? For Rey or Kylo, it has never been said that Leia in comics or anything else, her book, has those kind of powers. She's always Force sensitive. Okay, so it makes sense that she could sense Luke and Kylo when she's standing on the bridge of the ship and he's out there, you know, in his TIE fighter. But to then pull herself in when she just got blown out into outer space. We're not even going to talk about the physics of, yes, she would have, you know, her head would have exploded or whatever, blah, blah, blah. More that it makes no sense that she's able to do that. Then also later in the movie, when Poe is kind of having his whole, you know, little mutiny thing going on, she uses the Force to blow open a door. Like, does anyone forget that they've seen that scene? Like, that just, I don't like how it's that's not even explained of, oh, now she just has these powers? Why? How? Has she been practicing it for all these years? Why wasn't we seeing anything like this in Force Awakens? It felt really weird.
Someone was, like, theorizing that Luke kind of, when she said Luke, that it was passed, like, to her.
Yeah.
And that's a strong theory, because that would make tons of sense then.
I can't even believe a theory like that. Like, I just think it was just poorly designed.
Like, the only thing I really think about is that, like, it was talked about in her aftermath books about her having, like, Force abilities, some sort, nothing too big.
Not like that.
No, but like you also gotta remember the Force works in like weird, mysterious ways.
Yes.
So you could think of it as the Force saved her.
Yeah.
And that it wasn't like that she did it herself. It was like the Force brought her because immediately when she got back in, she collapsed and passed out for like almost half the movie.
And I don't have a problem straining yourself to the end there. You know, she's strong. We've seen that before, that she could will herself. But in the way that she did it, it just feels odd to me. And, like, that was a scene where it was more jarring, where it's like, oh, shit, I realize I'm watching a movie again. Like, what? What was that? I don't like that at all. And to then, also on top of that, in that scene, you have a moment where, unfortunately, with Carrie Fisher actually passing in real life, you had a moment to kill her and give her kind of a send-off, that would have conflict going later in the movie where Kylo actually didn't kill his mom, it was, his men doing it. Then you bring her back to now you leave this question of, okay, so what do we do with her in episode 9? We're just going to write her off and say, yeah, she's doing some other mission when the resistance is at the lowest point it's ever been. Well, she's just going to leave?
Like, they were originally going to just keep it at that and just kill her off there because that she had died. But Rian Johnson and other people said that, no, they couldn't do that to her. Like this is like her last movie. They need to show what she had done for this movie, and there would also be like a lot of reshoots and.
But to me, it would have been more effective than if you don't want to do it early in the movie. You want her to have the whole Luke scenes. You want to have more scenes with Poe. Cool. But then at the end, she should have done what the Admiral did and kind of have a kind of sacrifice that she's the last one at the base for everyone else to escape, and then that's how you kill her. Then I would have been more cool with that because then we're doing this whole Paul Walker Fast and Furious thing where now she's even more important of a character. How are we writing her out of episode 9 now?
Well, I've been reading theorized on this too, which would suck, but supposedly they're gonna, and this is a real strong theory, that this can be blown out of the water too, is they can get rid of her in the opening credits.
Yeah, and see, I don't like that. Then. I'd rather you just get rid of her at the end of 8 then, and I'm very interested to see what they're going to do, but I think they set themselves up for kind of failure here. I don't like that, and that, that's totally fine. Don't kill her, in the first third of the movie or whatever it was. Totally fine, but then you have to kill her at the end then. That's something you have to unfortunately wrap up. You leave open too many problems there, too many possibilities for failure.
Well, they had 3 chances to kill her.
Yeah.
They had 3. They could have killed her during the attack when she got shot by Kylo's men.
Yeah.
They could have killed her instead of leaving, I think you mentioned this, leaving the one Admiral on.
Right.
They could have switched
places. Sacrificed herself there.
They could have switched places.
Yep.
And she could have been light speed through
the
goddamn thing.
Yes.
Or they could have killed her down on the base.
Yeah. Definitely true. So I don't know how I love that scene there.
I mean, we could have just been like complete thing and done none reshoots and Ray could actually drop the rocks on her.
Yeah.
That would have been terrible.
Yeah.
Now, talking about another kind of dislike for me, I'm more conflicted on this. What do we think of Laura Dern's Admiral Hordo, whatever she was called? What do we think of her in this movie? That she's never really mentioned before. Poe seems to allude to, maybe she's mentioned in a book before, where like, oh, you're that Admiral, like that. So she has some kind of reputation.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's in the Aftermath books.
But to not be introduced in movies before or even mentioned, and then to have such a big part in this movie, she makes a great sacrifice. But her whole, back and forth with Poe, it adds to his progression. But I wasn't really in love kind of with her character. I mean, what do you guys think?
She was a bitch.
They made her seem like a bitch because of the whole thing with Poe. Because Poe, how she was talking to Poe.
Yeah.
Then made her feel like that she was a bitch. She was not gonna do anything. But in all retrospect, she was actually doing her job. She was looking at the bigger picture, where Poe was looking just at what's in front of him right now. So I like, and also it's like a like and a dislike.
Yeah, that's why I'm conflicted with the situation where
she performed that character really well.
Yeah.
She has purple hair too.
Yes.
Which was a really weird thing.
Yeah, you got
Star Wars, whatever.
Star Wars thing, But I enjoy the confrontations of Poe and Vice Admiral Holdo.
I mean, I definitely think that she had some scenes. Obviously, we talked about that Leia scene that she has at the end, which was also kind of, talking to the fans and her as well. Yeah, that's great. But then there's just some parts of this movie where, all right, we're literally at desperation mode. I understand not revealing the whole plan or there's a greater picture, but you figure at that point you would say, like, listen, don't worry, Poe, we got a situation in place. This is going to work. Like, for her to then be very vague about it, seeming like she has no plan, and then that's why Poe does what he does. Can you blame him for that situation? So I feel like that's really weird the way she's written there. There you go. Now we have a jump cut right in the middle of this edit here. But yes, we were talking about the Admiral, Laura Dern's character. I just feel like it would have been less conflict she would have with Poe if maybe she was a little more forthcoming about what she was actually doing.
But that's the whole thing I was trying to point out is if she was a little bit more descriptive, maybe you wouldn't have such a problem. Poe wouldn't have to aim his gun at you.
Exactly. So it was a weird sequence. I did like seeing not to jump back over to likes, but seeing Carrie Fisher's daughter in this and being so prominent and siding with Poe too. That was really cool stuff that I enjoyed.
Now I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Are there any other big dislike scenes that you have in this movie or overall the movie?
For me personally, no. I mean,
no. It's just to me like if you cut out that whole Rose Finn thing, you have a way better movie, a way shorter movie, maybe potential for better scenes.
I mean, another thing I just didn't like was not enough Snoke. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, we barely seen him inside the first one, but we seen him enough to know who he is, and then we seen him in person in this one, and I thought that was interesting. But we kind of kill him, and now we know nothing about him.
All right, so then that's an interesting, just quick conversation to bring up here, is that in Episode 6, everyone keeps pointing out to this, we don't really have any backstory on the Emperor. You know, remember before the prequels, right? We don't have any backstory really on the Emperor. Nobody had a problem with that. Those same people are then also saying, oh, you didn't even develop Snoke at all. Where do you come down on that? Are you fine that he doesn't have a backstory? Did you want one?
Well,
is that okay?
I'm okay with him not having a backstory. It's just we didn't get like much of anything for him. It's just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
we didn't get. I mean, we got enough to where we're like cool, but there wasn't like a dramatic battle. Like I mean, we seen at least we seen the Emperor go in and start electrocuting Luke. We seen him hit Rey in the head with the lightsaber.
He did use a little bit of Force lightning on Kylo.
Oh yeah, we did get to see that through the ground.
Yeah, so we see that he's super powerful.
He's overpowered.
I don't necessarily maybe a monologue of his of where he came from and how he rose to power. Yeah, maybe wouldn't have fit in this movie. Well, but I feel like a hint or something, just a little bit more development would have been nice. That yes, we are spoiled with getting the prequels and every character's over-explained, but you've hyped up this character. Star Wars itself has hyped up this character so much, and then to just give us basically 2 scenes in this movie, plus the hologram at the beginning with Hux, and that's all we have of Snoke, and then Kylo kills him. Yes, it further progresses his character. I understand that, and I'm cool with that, but I just want to know a little bit more about Snoke and why does he look the way he looks? How did he get this powerful? How did he even get in charge of the First Order in the first place? Where did they even come from?
Yeah, I'm sure people said the same thing about the Emperor in '83.
Yeah.
So.
It's true.
The whole thing, I think they're going to actually, if they don't, then they'll release a book. But I think they might release a movie going in between 30 years, actually showing us a little bit of something.
It could.
And if they don't, they'll definitely release a book. You said this.
I definitely think a book is possible. I definitely think a book has been greenlit already, and I think sometime next year they're going to announce that there's a Snoke book. They've done it with pretty much all these other characters. They did it with Thrawn when he came back into canon. Phasma as well got one. So
and a comic series.
Yeah. So to me, that I think is something that they should do, and I'd be cool with that. It just left me wanting a little bit more. I didn't like that. And then I guess the final thing I just want to talk about was Phasma. She is the Boba Fett of this trilogy. I didn't like the way they've handled her at all. If you do read the book, and I've read some of that, and I've read her comics, she's a really interesting character. And then again, she doesn't show up until like the end of the movie. She has a pretty good fight scene with Finn, then turns her back, and he gets to make a cheesy line about saying Chrome Dome or whatever, hits her, boom, she falls to the floor and dies. Like, I don't know. I didn't like how that was handled. I thought that was a waste of that character and a waste of a good actress.
I like that he got the surprise. I just hate that she kind of like went through the floor with the ship.
And it just, I don't know. I feel like because she has such limited scenes, it lessens the rivalry that the two have, where I care less about that fight. Because, all right, the scum line's good, but he should have been more dramatic in saying rebel scum. Like, I feel like he treated more of that like a joke, and I didn't like that.
No, I don't think he treated... Okay, so you're looking at that all wrong.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's treating it like a joke. I think he's treating it as pride.
Maybe, but
I don't know. No, because he smirked and he smiled,
bro. He's been running away from the First Order. He's been running away from even in the fight at all, and now he's finally embracing it. So I feel like I agree with you that he's treating it with pride.
Yeah.
But I feel like there should have actually had been more before then between them.
There's got to be more between them, and there's got to be more Phasma scenes.
Because all there was the beginning, the fight on Jakku, the slaughter on Jakku.
Yeah.
And then the escape off of in the Force Awakens, and then
put in the trash compactor.
Putting her in the trash compactor, and then now with this.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a lot.
I think it's a waste of a character.
Yeah.
She definitely is the Boba Fett of this thing. All right,
Yeah.
so I think that's all we're really talking about there. If we did want to quickly jump, this is not in the dislikes, to further talk about that Yoda scene. That was great. To have the kind of puppet come back there, and that was the only thing I predicted right in this movie. Was that Yoda was going to appear as a Force Ghost. It was at the perfect time. It was really only one that was going to reach Luke.
Well, I used like lightning to.
He used lightning.
Like, oh,
He did recognize that the Jedi had flaws. He recognized that as a teacher you're going to fail. It's exactly what Luke needed to hear to pull off his final act. And now they're kind of together in the Force as well.
Yes,
So
Yoda was great.
I thought that was one of the best scenes in the movie. That was one of my favorite scenes in Star Wars. That was
Same.
amazing the way that was handled. It was just
was.
perfect, the lines that they gave there, and it was the perfect advice that I think he needed at that point. All right, so if that's all we're saying here, I think we're going into ratings for this movie. I've struggled kind of what I want to rate for this movie. I think because there was wow moments in this movie and jaw-dropping moments for me that you can't really replicate again, I gotta think that this is a 7 out of 10 for me. It's solid. It's a great entry to the franchise. I do have problems with it, though. That kind of hold this back. Like, if I ever watch this on TV or DVD, I probably will fast forward through all those Rose Finn scenes. They're just boring to me. But the other parts of this movie, really like the chances that they took, and it's a 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. For me, I think it would be 8 out of 10. Just because I think it was really daring to do what they did, and they did it. They did it pretty good, and I'm looking forward to more. Also, just 8 out of 10. It's not a 10 out of 10 because the Rose and Finn stuff I just didn't. Could have been a little bit better, but I enjoy it. I like being surprised.
Yeah.
So that's what
they nailed that.
That's what a film should be able to do: surprise you and make you think.
And it wasn't just us; it was our whole theater, which was packed, was all like that.
Exactly.
So it
that's what a
definitely
good
shocked
movie
everybody.
does: is surprise you.
Yeah.
So.
Following through, it's definitely with Andrew. Also about an 8 out of 10. So I thought, and I mean, probably a little bit higher if it wasn't for probably Finn and Rose and probably that Leia scene.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, it'd definitely be higher. But this is definitely, like I said in the beginning, definitely one of my top 3 favorite Star Wars films.
Yeah.
So
it's also a 7 out of 10 because you killed Akbar off screen. That was some bullshit.
Yeah, come on, man.
Technically, it wasn't fully off screen. Like you see him in the background, and then you
that was some fucking bullshit. I'm just gonna say right now.
You're also mostly just paying attention to Leia, but he was literally right behind her.
Yeah, but that was some fucking bullshit.
Seriously.
I give this movie. I'm gonna give this movie a porg out of. No, I'm joking. I'm gonna give this movie. I'm gonna go with everyone else. I was gonna say a 7.5, but I don't like half, so I'm gonna just go with an 8. I'm gonna give it the benefit of a doubt because I really enjoy where they went with the movie, because a lot of these movies with Star Wars since the beginning, they've always, like, George Lucas always wanted them to, like, be repeating like a poem. And so I like where they literally did a big hiccup in a sense, but also kept on certain points of where there's rhythm and poetic stanzas in this movie.
It's a good point. It's a very good point.
I like where, because Empire Strikes Back in 1980, not to put it with it, that movie had a lot of people getting like, oh my god, like this just happened.
Yeah.
So we're getting that, but like it was on drugs, like it was just cranked up to like 50.
Yeah,
so
no,
I like where they went with it.
Because that's the whole thing. I want to point this out too. That's the whole thing. Because I mean, after releasing the prequels, it kind of ruined the whole surprise. Because I mean, you watch Empire Strikes Back, and the moment and both of you can vouch for me because you watched it before. Is the moment you hear Luke, "I am your father," you're kind of like thrown through a whole new world. Yeah. It like destroys the entire meaning of what you're supposed to be expecting.
I love watching kid videos nowadays that watch Empire for the first time, so that like parents record the reactions. Yeah. Those
are
so
awesome.
That's one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah, and just because they don't know, because I didn't watch Star Wars up until a few years ago, but it was popular culture. You knew that happened. You knew Vader was Luke's father, so that whole moment's ruined. Yeah. But when you watch someone else who doesn't know about it,
great.
I love that kind of stuff there, and I hope that for moments for this movie that people watch generations from now, that they could have those similar moments. That would be really nice. And I think that's what they intended.
It was great.
So I guess, guys, that's kind of our very long Star Wars Episode 8 Last Jedi review. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. There is a hella lot of things to talk about for this movie. and going into Episode 9, and I guess maybe a little bit into the Han Solo movie of a kind of cameo thing there. Let us know what you thought down below. Kind of what do you think of Snoke getting killed off there, Luke getting killed off, what they're going to do with the whole Carrie Fisher question going forward. What do you think of all the characters here, our Reys, our Poes, our Finns, and I guess, Kylo and Rose now, what you thought of all those entries and any other thoughts, predictions, theories, pretty much anything you have, let us know down below. We always appreciate talking to you guys. So, like the video, subscribe, channel, share with your friends if you be so kind, and until next review, guys, thanks for watching.
Bye!